Bare trees stretch across a pale gray sky. The wind moves through them slowly, producing a faint rustling sound that feels almost like a whisper. The world seems paused, suspended between movement and silence. There is a quiet moment that appears in the lives of certain people. It does not come with a dramatic event. It does not arrive with an obvious turning point. Instead, it emerges slowly. One day you notice something that had always been there, the repetition of life. The same conversations repeated in different rooms, the same ambitions repeated in different voices, the same opinions moving through social circles like echoes bouncing off invisible walls. At first, it seems harmless, just the natural rhythm of everyday life. But over time, something begins to shift. You start noticing the pauses between words. You notice how uncomfortable people become when silence lasts longer than expected. Someone quickly fills the gap with a joke. Another person changes the subject. And suddenly you realize something unsettling. Most people are not speaking to communicate. They are speaking to escape silence. Centuries ago, a philosopher observed this strange human behavior with remarkable clarity. He wrote a sentence that has echoed through philosophy ever since. All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. That philosopher was Blaise Pascal, and perhaps what he discovered was not simply a philosophical insight. Perhaps it was a psychological truth about the human condition. Because when silence finally appears, many people do not know what to do with it. But for certain minds, silence is not frightening, it is revealing. Pascal lived in a century filled with scientific discovery and intellectual upheaval. He helped develop probability theory. He designed mechanical calculators. He performed experiments that changed the understanding of physics. But the question that troubled him most was neither mathematical nor scientific. It was existential. Why are human beings so restless? Why do we constantly seek activity, conversation, distraction, stimulation? Pascal suspected that beneath all this movement lay something deeper than boredom. Fear. Not fear of the world, but fear of confronting ourselves. When a person is finally alone with no distractions, the mind begins to wander through uncomfortable territory. Memories appear, doubts surface, questions arise. And some of these questions challenge the very foundations of how we live. For many people, this experience is unsettling, so they create lives filled with motion that prevents reflection. If Pascal believed distraction was powerful in the 17th century, he could hardly imagine the modern world. Today, distraction is not merely available, it is engineered. Every notification is designed to interrupt stillness. Every feed is designed to capture attention. Every platform competes for the same limited resource, human awareness. The result is a culture where silence has become rare. Moments of quiet are quickly filled with music, scrolling, conversation, or stimulation. But the human mind was never designed for uninterrupted noise. Reflection requires space. Meaning requires pauses. Without these pauses, life begins to feel strangely shallow. For reflective individuals, this environment can feel suffocating, not because people are unpleasant, but because depth becomes difficult to sustain. Eventually, solitude begins to feel like oxygen. Pascal's philosophy revolved around a profound observation. Human beings exist between two infinities. Above us stretches the vast universe. Below us lie microscopic structures beyond our perception. Between these immensities stands a fragile creature capable of awareness. This awareness is both a blessing and a burden. Animals live without questioning their purpose, but humans cannot escape the question. Why are we here? What does any of this mean? Pascal believed most human activity functions as a distraction from these questions, but when someone dares to face them directly, solitude becomes necessary. It becomes the environment where reflection can unfold without interruption. Imagine a dinner table filled with conversation. Stories circulate. Someone mentions a promotion. Another person casually mentions a recent trip. Laughter spreads across the table. From the outside, everything seems perfectly normal, but the observant mind begins to notice something unusual. Each person subtly shapes their words to create a certain impression. Confidence, success, certainty. Rarely vulnerability, rarely doubt. The conversation becomes a social performance. Everyone participates in the choreography, but the thoughtful observer feels a quiet distance growing inside. Not hostility, just awareness. An awareness that genuine connection is far rarer than constant conversation suggests. Pascal believed that much of human ambition grows from an inability to tolerate stillness. People chase power, they chase recognition, they chase achievements that promise lasting significance. But often, these pursuits serve another purpose. They keep the mind occupied, because a busy mind rarely confronts existential questions. Yet, for the reflective individual, stillness is not empty, it is fertile. Ideas begin to form, connections appear, thought expands in directions that busy environments rarely allow. Many of humanity's greatest insights were born not in crowded rooms, but in quiet reflection. Despite these insights, solitude remains emotionally complex. Humans crave connection. We want to share experiences. We want to feel understood. The reflective person, therefore, faces a paradox. Their mind seeks depth, but their heart seeks companionship. Sometimes these desires conflict. You may sit in a crowded room and feel strangely distant, yet walking alone beneath the quiet sky can produce an unexpected sense of belonging. Belonging not to people, but to existence itself. Psychologists often observe that individuals who engage in deep thinking process information differently. Their attention lingers on patterns. They examine motivations. They explore layers of meaning beneath ordinary events. In environments where conversation moves quickly and superficially, this deeper processing becomes difficult. The mind must constantly reduce complexity. Over time, this reduction becomes exhausting. Solitude restores the natural rhythm of thought. It allows curiosity to unfold without pressure. History provides powerful illustrations of the relationship between solitude and discovery. During the plague of 1665, Isaac Newton was forced to leave Cambridge University. He returned to his family's countryside home. Freed from lectures and academic obligations, he suddenly had something rare: time. Time to observe nature. Time to follow ideas wherever they led. In that quiet environment, Newton developed concepts that would revolutionize science: gravity, calculus, optics. His solitude became one of the most productive intellectual periods in history. Yet solitude itself is not the ultimate destination. Understanding is. Intelligent individuals often retreat temporarily because their curiosity requires space. But when they encounter another mind capable of genuine depth, something remarkable happens. Conversation becomes exploration. Ideas move freely. The energy of thought becomes shared. In those moments, solitude dissolves, not because it was wrong, but because it served its purpose. Pascal's metaphor of the thinking reed captures the paradox of human existence. Physically, we are fragile. A storm can destroy us. Time eventually erases us. But our awareness gives us something extraordinary. We know that we exist. We can reflect on the universe that surrounds us, and through reflection, we discover meaning. This capacity for thought is humanity's greatest dignity, yet it flourishes most fully in silence. Perhaps the greatest misunderstanding about solitude is that it represents isolation. In reality, it often represents alignment between the mind and its deepest questions. When a person becomes comfortable sitting quietly with their own thoughts, something subtle changes. External noise loses its urgency. Superficial conflicts lose their importance. Attention shifts toward deeper patterns of life. In that stillness, the mind begins to see more clearly. And perhaps that is why certain individuals eventually grow comfortable with solitude, not because they reject humanity, but because through silence they have learned how to understand it. And once understanding appears, the world becomes both quieter and infinitely more meaningful.